and I met Epstein, and that same week I was drugged and abused by Jean-Luc Brunel. He was at that time a really famous model agent in Paris, and after that happened, I escaped Paris and just never went back until I reported him to the French police. But that was like 27 years later.
Tisha Houseman, the victim of Epstein, mentioned that, "I've always wished Virginia could be here right now, to witness what's happening, to see the man who caused so much pain, the man who manipulated us, was finally arrested. It feels like a weight lifted off our shoulders, but at the same time, it's hard to enjoy the victory. She should have been here. She deserved to see justice being done. But now, it's my turn to speak out. It's my turn to tell my story, a story that was buried in the shadows for too long." In a recent interview with a news channel, Tisha Houseman spoke about her experiences and described how she was allegedly exploited by Jeffrey Epstein. She outlined the circumstances surrounding the alleged misuse and shared her perspective on the impact it had on her life. Before moving forward, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily updates. It all started in 1991. I was just 18 years old, fresh off a plane from the US, full of hopes and dreams. Paris was supposed to be my big break, my chance to make it as a model. But instead, it was the beginning of something I couldn't escape. I met Epstein that week, but it wasn't him who hurt me. It was Jean-Luc Brunel, one of the most powerful men in the fashion industry at the time. He seemed charming, successful, and well-connected, but all of that was a facade. Behind that charm, there was something much darker. I was just a young girl, barely 18, and they were already preying on me. Brunel invited me to a party. It was a lavish gathering. Fashion moguls, powerful businessmen, and a lot of young girls from Eastern Europe and Russia. Some of them looked like they had just stepped off a plane, unsure and afraid. They were in the same position I was, scouted, promised fame, and forced to do things they didn't want to. The whole night felt wrong, but it wasn't until later that I realized just how wrong it really was. I remember walking into the apartment and the air felt heavy, filled with tension, whispers, and too many people. There were old men, rich and powerful, sitting with these young girls. I remember one girl, a Russian model, sitting on the lap of a man who had his hand on her back. That man was Jeffrey Epstein. He looked at me and smiled, but there was something cold about it. It felt calculated. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't just there to talk to her. He was controlling her, manipulating her. And I realized then that he had his sights on me too. It was a twisted game, a game they had played over and over again. The men knew what they were doing. They knew how to keep us silent, how to make us feel like we owed them something. When I spoke to the Russian girl, she said something that stayed with me. "It's important for your career that you please a man like him. He has power, and power is everything in this world." At that moment, I realized just how far they were willing to go. This was about more than just a career. This was about control. Brunel wasn't just a powerful agent. He was a cog in a larger machine. Epstein, Brunel, Ghislaine Maxwell, it wasn't just them. It was a whole network of people, all connected by one thing: power. They used that power to exploit young girls, to rob us of our dignity, to take away our voices. And the worst part? They got away with it. For so long, they were untouchable, protected by wealth, by influence, by the system that turned a blind eye to their crimes. Brunel fled Paris when things started to get messy. The documentary that aired in 1988 had already raised alarms, but nothing happened. Nothing ever did. And then he went to New York to start another agency. But this wasn't a modeling agency. It was a front, a cover-up for a trafficking operation that was run by Epstein. I found out later that this agency was a way for Epstein and Brunel to bring young girls from around the world and use them however they pleased. It wasn't about modeling, it was about trafficking. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, it felt like a small crack in a huge wall. For years I had stayed silent, too afraid to speak out. But when I saw the FBI asking for information about Epstein and his accomplices, something inside me clicked. I knew I had to come forward. I contacted the French police, and I was the first victim to speak out. But there was one problem. The statute of limitations had passed. In France, it was 20 years for sexual assault cases, and my case was too old. It was devastating, but I wasn't about to let that stop me. I kept fighting. I shared my story in the media, hoping it would encourage other victims to come forward. And then, something incredible happened. I connected with Virginia Giuffre. I had heard her story before, but now we were finally speaking. We had both suffered at the hands of the same people, and together we would make sure they couldn't keep getting away with it. I'll never forget the moment I met Virginia in Paris in 2021. We were finally in the same place, in the same room, after all those years of pain and silence. I remember looking into her eyes, and it was like we didn't need to say anything. We knew what we had been through, and we knew we weren't alone anymore. It was powerful, it was healing, and it was the first time in my life that I felt like there was a chance for justice. Virginia was taken from us too soon. She's gone now, and I can't help but wonder what she would think if she could see what's happening now. She was always the one pushing, always the one refusing to back down. She fought for us, for all of us who couldn't speak for ourselves. And now, she's gone. I think she'd be proud, but she should have been here to see it. We all deserved that. Prince Andrew, we all knew what he was a part of. He denied it, but we know what he did. The photos, the stories, they're all there. He's been arrested now, and for what? Misconduct in office. Not for the abuse, not for the trafficking, but it's a start, right? A small victory. But it's not enough. We all know it's not enough. The network is still out there. There are still men, still people who think they can get away with it. But we won't stop. I won't stop. Virginia wouldn't have stopped. And now, it's up to us to finish what we started. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily updates.